Now, last night, I brought you an exclusive interview with the pianist Brendan Kavanagh, who was confronted by a group of Chinese people demanding that he didn't share videos showing their faces or voices online. But here's the catch. He was filming in a public place, playing Elton John's piano in London St Pancras train station, to be exact, which has now apparently been cordoned off, they say, because maintenance. The police got involved as well. An officer tried to tell Brendan not to film. Have a look at this.
They've requested that the video where they've approached gets deleted and not used on your channel.
No, they don't have that right.
Because there's money being made and they work for a company, then their faces can't be shown on
Well, they
on
should be.
channel.
You're not their private security agent.
I'm not their private security agent.
And we're in a free country. We're in a free space. We're not causing the trouble. The problem is not from us, Kerry. The problem is they are coming over, telling us what to do. I'm playing the piano. Now, fair is fair, but you are not their private security guard. We're not in China. And that's not racist, that's the truth. That's what our forefathers fought for.
Exactly, but you can't say things like that either. You can't just say things
Say
like
what?
that.
That we're in a free country?
No, but we're not in China.
Unbelievable, eh? She walked away eventually, as did the Chinese people. Brendan pointed out their hypocrisy on the show last night.
They wanted complete privacy in a station where there was thousands of people, and you know that everyone's there filming, and they want complete privacy. They don't want anyone filming them. They don't want to be known, and they were going around waving these yellow Chinese anti-disclosure things.
Right.
And they said it's an extremely sensitive issue. The guy is very, very sensitive. I mean, for goodness' sake, now he's a YouTube star.
Right. Well, big story, still going on. The assistant editor of The Spectator, Cindy Yu, joins me now. Cindy, I mean, I'm at the same time kind of amused by this story and perplexed by it. It's a very odd thing to have happened, and it's a sort of quirky story to have to look at, but people became fascinated with it. People have become even more fascinated by some of the stuff on social media, picturing some of those Chinese people involved in other roles. One, for example, with Jeremy Hunt. Others sort of trying to identify who some of the others might have been. I mean, what's going on?
I'll be honest, Mike, I haven't seen that picture of Jeremy Hunt, although I have seen one of those Chinese people coming out and putting out a video of her version of events. So, I mean, the whole thing, and Mike, I'm so sorry to start the interview by saying this, but the whole thing is such a nothing burger in the sense that this was a storm in a teacup about a public dispute about whether or not you want to be featured in someone's video. And I think that as private citizens, you know, if you see a live streamer filming you, you might just go up to them and say, do you mind just not using that? I'd rather be private. And they would be well within their rights to say, no, you're in a public space, I can use that footage.
Yeah. Well, I think that's right. But, I mean, the trouble is it became a bigger thing than just a nothing burger because the people who were involved started talking about calling the police. They started accusing Brendan, of being a racist. They started saying that he couldn't say certain things. I mean, it was a very odd thing to be happening in a London railway station. Let me put it to you that way. Yeah,
totally. And I don't disagree with any of that at all, Mike. I think that it was just so stupidly escalated, and the whole thing is a masterclass in how not to get someone to do what you want. You know,
right.
they're coming over initially, and you know, if you watch the full videos, I have 39 minutes I'll never get back in my life. They come over, that lady that we're seeing on screen now, she comes over, she's initially very, very polite and very, you know, well spoken. You know, there's some kind of language barrier there where, you know, Brendan's trying to understand exactly what her problem is. But it just gets so escalated when other people in her party get involved. At one point, one of the men actually shouts at Brendan to don't touch one of the women there, even though he wasn't really touching her. You know, the whole thing's got blown out of proportion very, very quickly. As you say, the police were called, and we've seen there just now that clip of that policewoman kind of really taking one side of the row, really. But I think what's interesting is that it's tapped into such a phenomenon. It's tapped into such an emotional place for so many viewers and so many people looking at this. I think because of this idea, as Brendan kind of suggested, that the CCP is somehow coming over here telling us what we can or can't say in the UK, in a free country, as he calls it. And I think that is an anxiety that we in the liberal West, in the democratic West, do have, and we are right to have that anxiety about things like the Confucius Institutes, or Mike, you and I have talked about the spy scandals in the UK. But in this instance, you know, I do think it's just a stupid argument that got totally out of hand by people who were not very polite at the end of the day after only a few minutes.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I mean, who do you think they were? I mean, they said, I think, that they were working for some kind of tourist company, that they were filming basically a tourist video of some kind in London. But they were waving around these kind of disclaimer notices, and almost as though they could give those to people to say, you know, you can't interfere with us. We want to film here. And, you know, there are things you can and cannot do or can and cannot say. I mean, I suppose the question I'm asking you is there a lot of this going on? I mean, will we sort of, as on our travels, wander around seeing groups of people wearing the same clothes, filming something? Is it a thing? Is it a TikTok thing? I mean, I just don't know.
Yeah, I think the girl who's the polite one who's come out since to film her own version of events said that they were doing a Chinese New Year kind of welcome video, and that they had been employed by a company, but they had to sign some kind of non-disclosure thing so that nobody really knew that they were filming it, and they were worried that if Brendan's video came out, people would know that they're doing that. You know,
Right.
all of that is understandable. And all of that is understandable. You might ask someone, please, can you edit me out? They didn't know it was a live stream. But what was not justifiable at all is just how aggressive it got very, very quickly. So I do agree with that. The thing that's bizarre for me about this whole situation is that China is now one of the most digitally connected places in the world. Live streaming is actually a massive industry in China because whilst not everyone has a computer, if you have a smartphone, you can tap into the hundreds of millions of users on Chinese social media, on all of these platforms that we've never even heard of here in the West, but are just as big as Facebook and Instagram. You know, they've got their own version of TikTok, for example. So for Chinese people, live streaming and seeing people getting their phones out, it's actually quite a normal thing to see.
Right.
So for them to be so strict about, you know, not understanding that someone might just be doing this and it would be totally harmless, is, I think, badly handled, basically.
Yes,
I mean, but
I
I
think
don't
so.
think there's anything political in this, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, I think so. Cindy, good to talk to you. Thank you very much.